Welcome to Hope in the Morning, turning tragedies and tears into testimonies of hope.
Have you ever thought about the significance of a mother's love in shaping who you became to be when you grew up? Oftentimes, the nurture and guidance of our mother has a profound impact on how we see ourselves and on our faith. The loss of a mother is a deep wound at any age. Joining us today is Christina Jones. She's a good friend of mine, and we've actually been friends for 3 years, and yet this is our first conversation without 9 precious children running around us.
Yes.
She's a wife and a mother of 5, and our kids love each other, but it makes it so we don't really have conversations. So
Not at all.
yeah, not uninterrupted. We have
Right.
conversation, but not uninterrupted. So Christina, I am so thankful that you're joining us today, and would just love to hear about your mom, kind of what made her special, memories you have of her growing up, and how she impacted the woman you are today that I'm proud to call my friend.
Thank you so much. I really am appreciative of you allowing me to have a safe space to be able to talk about her. I think a lot of times people don't take the time to really process, especially with me because I have 5 kids now. When she first passed, I only had 3. And I think for me, I just wanted to go, go, go over and over again. Just go, 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 not think about it, not necessarily process it the way that I should have. And I think for me, even to this day, it's like, okay, do I know how I feel? Do I know how to process this the right way and in honestly in a godly way? Like how do I do that? So one thing about my mom is that she was very, very strong. I mean, I'm not a single mom, but she was. She had 6 children. My dad died when I was 5 years old. My oldest sister, she was 12. So I think for me, that was a life changing moment. I was only 5, so I remember his passing, but I don't really have too much recollection about his passing. And so I think dealing with her and her passing away, 2 totally different skills.
Yeah.
So my mom was very strong, like I said before, a very strong woman. I felt like she always put us first. She never really concerned herself with what her needs were. And I think that's what ultimately caused her demise.
Mm.
And I think oftentimes in our community, like we don't focus on ourselves enough. We always focus on our children, always focus on other family and friends that we never take the time to really focus on each other or focus on us as moms. And so I think that was a wonderful thing for her to do, but also like sometimes I want her thinking about it now. I want her to be selfish sometimes, like think about you. I think it was in May of 2019 is when we first found out like something was wrong. My mom has always been really strong. My siblings will say that too. Like she never got sick. She sniffled, things like that. But you talking about 6 kids. And then once my siblings got older, they had kids. I had kids. So we're talking about at least 10 grandkids, cousins that we always came together and just had fun. And all of a sudden she just seemed so weird. And I think I started to really see things in her that I really thought was like, that's kind of weird. Like I said, back in May of 2019, she really just wasn't coherent like she
Okay.
was supposed to. And so she came and started staying with me and my husband, Brandon. And we woke up one morning and she was just walking around the hallway and I don't think she even knew where she was.
Mm.
And all of a sudden she fell. I think at this time I was barely 30. My husband, he's 29, he's a year younger than me. So we're like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We don't know how to process this. It's like your mom is the strongest person you know. How is she walking around not really knowing who we are,
Okay.
what's going on? So I think that really that's something that I still haven't processed to this day,
Yeah.
like the initial symptoms that she showed. And her favorite time of the year was December. And we had to call the ambulance for her because it was like, okay, she's not the Jackie that we know. And the ambulance came and they checked her out. They asked her questions. This was May, June. And she's like, isn't it December? Isn't it
No.
Christmas? And like my heart sank. It's like, okay, something's really wrong with her. Something's wrong. And so she goes to the hospital. She's there for about 10 days. They run tests. I think her potassium was low. She seemed like she started to get better. And then we got the diagnosis that she had stage 4 breast cancer.
Mm.
And I think for me, I didn't want to believe it at first. I'm not sure how my family views me, but I think that I guess they decided to just sit me down
Okay.
and tell me, okay, this is what it is. And so it was a process for me. Again, I say to process those things, to process what I had just heard, because it's like a outer body
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Like this can't be real. This
Yeah.
this can't be real. And so as time went on, August, September, October, we're going into Thanksgiving. We know that she has stage 4 cancer. She's only 54. She
Mm.
turned 55 in August, though. We're celebrating her birthday. Ah, to me, honestly, I felt like just pretending,
Yeah.
like it wasn't happening. Like she's gonna see her next birthday. We're gonna keep celebrating her. We're gonna keep
Yeah.
celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas. And she had gotten really sick right after Thanksgiving. But on Thanksgiving Day, she had come and we could tell she really wasn't feeling well at all. And so we would always go around the table for Thanksgiving and say, "What are you thankful for?"
Yeah.
And so she stopped and it was her turn. And she said that I'm thankful for my children, went around the room saying our names, and the 6 of us. Uh, in our family, we're not like lovey dovey or anything like that. But for her to literally call out all of my siblings' names, call out my name, and to say that she loves us
Mm.
and that she cares and that she's thankful for us is something that I personally would never forget. I can picture her face right now,
Oh.
just sitting at that table, like, I'm thankful for Christina. And I'm like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Like, she's thankful
Oh.
for me.
Yeah.
But I remember that moment so vividly. And after Thanksgiving, I think that's when she really took a turn for the worse. She called me and she really couldn't get out of bed. I have a younger sister. She is 18 now, but at the time, I want to say she was 12.
Mm.
And so she was at home with her, and she really couldn't understand or really take everything that she saw. So we tried to shield her. So we took my sister out of the house. I remember I drove my mom to the hospital. She told my youngest sister, and I don't know if my youngest sister even knows this to this day. She said, "I love you, Jayla." My sister's name is
Oh.
Jayla. As she walked through the doors to my family's apartment, and I took her to the hospital, and little did we know that was the last time that she
Wow.
would ever see my little sister and that my little sister would see her. And that's really the last time that I would see her fully coherent, have her walk through those hospital
Mm.
doors. And I don't want to say close the doors, but to me, it was like close the door to the person that I had viewed for 30 years of life. Like, that's not in the cards for me
Yeah.
anymore. So I think that was a process. I think going in there and seeing her and visiting her as she was sick was very difficult. But I think when she did have a turn for the worse, we got a call early in the morning. I think it was a Sunday morning. I think a nurse had called my oldest sister and said, "I think you need to come
Mm.
and see your mom right now because she's not doing well at all." They think she had had a stroke. They're not really sure exactly what caused it. They don't know if it was because of the cancer that she had a stroke, but we went in there. Literally, they had mittens on her.
Mm.
She had reverted back to a child. So it's like she's looking at her hands, not understanding that these are my hands. She
Oh.
doesn't understand, like, this is my body. It's like a outer body experience. I know some people say that once your parents get older, they revert back
Yeah.
to being a child. It's like you have to take care of a newborn
Yeah.
again. So when I first saw that, I walked right out of the hospital.
Mm.
I couldn't. I could not see her in that way.
Yeah.
And I think it took me about a day or two to go back up there and see her and see how she was doing. Couldn't talk anymore. I don't know if she could understand me or see me or know who I was, but to see her laying in the hospital bed was definitely very uh, eye opening. Like, life is so precious.
Hmm.
I think that we as humans walk around life thinking that not necessarily that we're immortal, but this wouldn't happen to me.
Yeah.
Like, I still have time, but we don't know when our last day is. And I think that really opened up my eyes to see that you got to live, Christina.
Hmm.
You got to live. You got to live for your husband. You have to live for your kids. You have to live for your mom. And I think for me, one of those last days that she was in the hospital, um, me and my siblings couldn't go up there and see her. So we didn't really want to see her at all. We didn't want to see her in that way.
Yeah.
And I especially didn't. And I think when she was really at the very end, my uncle said that he had somewhere he had to go. And so he was like, can somebody just come up there and be with her? Because she didn't want to be, they didn't want her to be by herself. And of course, I didn't want her to be by herself or pass on her
Yeah.
own either. And so he called and said, does anybody want to come? Is anybody available? And nobody volunteered.
Mm.
So I said, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And so I went up there to the hospital. I saw her laying in the bed. I could tell like this was probably the end. She loved Wes Morgan. She loved listening to his music. I don't know, he's a Christian artist. She loved him. So I played it for her, talking to her like, Mom, I love you. Never really said things like that to
Oh,
each other. So
really?
it's like, that's very, it's very weird. But in this moment, it's like, okay, this is real. So
Mm.
I want to be able to express myself to her. So I think I got there around 10 o'clock, I want to say. From 10 to 6, I'm just holding her hand, letting her listen to music. Tony Evans was a really good person, and I listened to a very good pastor that really helped me throughout the whole process of processing everything that was going on. I let her listen to him, and I was starting to get anxious, like, okay, this seems like this might be it. I can't do this by myself. Like, I can't
Yeah.
just watch her do this and it's just me in the room. So I called my uncle. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta go. So let's just go. Let me just go. And he said, okay, go ahead. He called me. I think he called all of the siblings about an hour later and said that she had passed.
Mm.
And to me, that was a relief.
Yeah.
And I know that's
One moment. When
okay.
we return, we're going to talk about how that was a relief to you and just how the Lord has used this grief to grow you in motherhood and in your love for the Lord.
Thank you.
Do you want to be equipped to help grieving people? To learn what to say and what not to say from people who've walked through various trials? Throughout the month of April, with your donation of any amount, we'd like to send you a free copy of Hope in the Mourning, a hope-filled guide through grief. Be encouraged by their stories and equipped to offer hope. Visit us today at hopeinthemorning.org. Hope in the Mourning is a listener-sponsored program that encourages the weary, equips those who walk beside them, and evangelizes the lost. If you want to partner with this ministry, visit hopeinthemorning.org. And may you be filled with hope as you continue this episode of Hope in the Mourning.
So, Christina, you were just saying that when you found out that your mom had passed, that was almost a relief to you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain kind of what you mean by that?
I think for me, it was such a relief because in that short time span from her initially getting her diagnosis to her passing was one of the longest months of my life personally. I can't speak for my siblings, but for me, we're talking about waking up every day and anticipating, like, when is this moment going to come? Is it going to come? Is she going to get better? and seeing, of course, my youngest sibling suffer. Like, she is so traumatized. She is
Mm.
so, not necessarily depressed, but she has so much anxiety, like not knowing what's going on. And she had to live with my mom, being afraid, like, okay, are we going to wake up and is she going to be dead?
And you said she was around 12 years old at that
She was
time?
around 12 years old
Yeah.
at that time. So she's really young. And I didn't live with my mom. So I'm like, okay, well, at least I don't have to wake up and like have to look in the room and see
Yeah.
if she's gone or not. But I know for my sister, that was probably so hard for her. And I also had another younger sibling too. I want to say she was about 19 or 20 when everything initially happened. So I think just trying to protect them, trying to protect my children,
Mm.
trying to protect my nieces and nephews, like, because it was such a struggle. I think oftentimes people think that, okay, something happens and the person dies, that's like a shock. I wouldn't necessarily say I would want that, but the time that we had in between that was so tedious to
Mm-hmm.
us. So
Tiring.
tiring to where it was like, okay, I don't know if we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
And of course, when a loved one is sick, everybody has to be in rotation, taking care of that person, dropping a lot of our daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people are necessarily real with themselves when they say, like, it's hard to upend your life
Yeah.
and go and care for someone who really needs your help, even if it's not
Yeah.
24/7, the majority of the day. So,
Were there people that stepped in and kind of helped your family or served your family during
absolutely,
that time? What were some of the ways that were most helpful that actually ministered to you the most?
I think because our family is so big, there were family members that could help all the time. So, like I said, my mom had 6 kids. My uncle had 2, and my aunt, she had 3. So it was a lot of us that were able to do it. But just being able to go in there and see her in that way. And I don't want to paint a picture as like she was just, death was on her face. But I think just seeing her from the way we were used to seeing
Mm-hmm.
her to now, like, people being on chemo, they
Yeah.
lose weight, they
Mm-hmm.
start to look really sickly. Um, but I will say that my family definitely stepped up. My siblings stepped up. My cousins stepped up. My aunt, she was definitely so pivotal to helping her sister,
Yeah.
trying to do her best. My uncle, who's a pastor, being able to walk us through how to deal with, at the moment, we didn't think it was death, even though we know it was a possibility, but just caring for someone who was sick, just like being there for each other, helping her, getting her food, buying the food so she wouldn't have to stress out about that, taking care of my younger sisters, even though my younger sister was grown, she still needed help. She
Yeah.
was just now going into adulthood. And I think my youngest sister, everybody rallied
Mm-hmm.
around her. It's like, okay, we got to protect her at all costs, because when I tell you that my youngest sister is the most sweetest, the most humblest,
Oh.
the nicest person you'll ever meet.
Well,
I don't want to be biased, but I've never seen a child that hardly ever got in trouble, a child that just was so willing to do what everybody else wanted to do and put herself on the back burner. And I think she
sounds
got
like
that
your
from
mom.
my mom.
Yeah, sounds like your mom.
She got that from my mom, and it's like, my mom had that character trait, but that just engulfed my sister Jayla.
Mm.
And so we really tried to rally around her. And just going back to the whole being relieved by it, I think in that moment it was like, okay, we're here now. This moment happened. And now, since we have that phone call or a text or however we received it, can't really remember specifically if I got a
Yeah.
call or a text, but just being able to say, okay, this happened. So now we have to move to the next thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where I say the relief came from. And for me, I am not one to be able to deal with the emotional drain that comes from having to plan a funeral, like get the clothes together, I think I started to go into after the relief part is the denial.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't deny the fact that she was no longer here. I feel like I denied the fact that all these things needed to be done and they had to be done. And I just couldn't wrap my head around that.
Kind of overwhelming. Mm-hmm.
Overwhelming. I don't think people talk enough about after the person passes, how you have to talk about them in a way like they're not here,
Mm-hmm.
even though it really just happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you got to get this, you got to get that. We have to call these people, we have to call that person, but you can't sit and
Mm-hmm.
just be like, okay, I need the time to just sit here and process this. I need time to just think about it,
Yeah.
to to make sure that it is real. I think for me, like I said, it was like going back and forth. You waking up and it's not. But then as the minutes go on, because I'm not even going to say the hours went on, the minutes went on. It's like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
I can picture us going in her apartment and knowing that she's not walking through those doors anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then the funeral home asking, what outfit are you guys going to choose for her? We need the outfit by a certain time. And I don't like to be put on a time limit. I'm a stay
Yeah.
at home mom. So it's like I'll work at my own pace.
Yeah.
And I think my whole mind was like, okay, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I
every
just,
step makes it more real. And I think
mm-hmm.
that it's part of like what the Lord does to protect us in our grief is that he
Yes.
almost puts us in a bubble of things not feeling like reality for a
Mm-hmm.
time. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've learned recently is just that grief it's an extension of your love for someone, and you would
Yes.
never say to someone, oh, you still love your mom, you've had her for 30 years, like
Yes.
you would never say that. And
Right.
so it doesn't even matter how much time goes by, you're gonna grieve them to some extent, and little things are going to remind you of them
Mm-hmm.
because your love ran deep. And so now
Yes.
that they're gone, grief is an expression of that love. It's the
Yes.
way that your heart expresses that love. And
Mm-hmm.
how would you say that the Lord rooted you in your faith? Like were there verses or hymns that kind of came to mind continuously during your journey of the last several years without your mom, that maybe when you're having a hard day that he brings to mind his goodness or the fact that he will sustain you?
It's funny you say that because in this moment I'm like, okay, what's the song that you always love to sing? I'm not a singer. I don't sing, but I love to sing around the house. Only to my husband knows this. I only sing around him and my kids. And for me, I love hymns. Like to me,
Mm,
those are the staple songs that really they can cut deep, but they can really get you into, in my own terms, the nitty gritty of how God can literally work in you. He can restore you. He can make you so much more resilient than you ever thought you could be.
mhm.
And so the first hymn that popped in my head was Love Lifted Me. And
Oh,
so I always sing the first verse, and my husband's like, yeah, I like that song. I said, that's my favorite
yeah.
hymn. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore. Verily, deeply staying within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the waters lifted me, now safe am I. So I
Mhm.
said, oh my gosh, every time I sing that song, every time I hear it, like looking at the words, it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you deal with death. That's how you deal with your mom passing. That's how you deal with every step that you had to take. I'm sinking, God.
Yeah.
I'm sinking, and I'm so far from where you need me to be, where I need to be in order to feel like you're here with me.
Yeah.
But he said, I'm right here and I'm going to lift you up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of my favorite hymns.
I love that. And honestly, what you were saying too, it brings to mind the fact that even in the Psalms, it's like one of the things that becomes cathartic to us is the fact that we have Jesus as the interceder. We no longer, we don't have to go to a priest. Like
Yes.
we can go directly to the Lord,
Yes.
and we can say to him, I'm drowning
Mm-hmm.
in this, and I feel like I'm incapable of sustaining myself at all.
Yes.
And just like scripture talks about, it's like when we are at our weakest point, it allows us to put God's strength on display, because we can say, God, I'm nothing without you.
Yes.
And he will reach up and rescue us. And he hears, he hears the pleas of our heart.
Yes.
He sees the laments in our tears when sometimes words just cannot be had, especially when you feel like you're drowning in that. And he is not removed from our sorrows. And I agree with you. I think that the hymns, one of the things that makes hymns so rich and so powerful is the fact that they're full of theology. They're full of the richness of who God is. And so my grandma once told me, I think it's in Habakkuk, it talks about how God placed us on a higher ground. And so my grandma would remind me that, Jesus takes us out of our circumstances and allows us to see things from a different perspective, so that we can know we are safe in his embrace, that these circumstances, what we face in this life, is not all there is. And I know from talking with you before that your mom loved the Lord, and that she passed a rich faith to you as well, and a rich trust in the Lord. And, we have this beautiful hope that you will be reunited with your mom in perfection, that your mom there's no more tears and no more pain. And, but while we are here on this earth, we can trust that Jesus hears you, that he bends low when you cry, and that he will rescue you. And so, Christina, thank you so much for sharing your testimony today. And I'm just so thankful to call you a friend and a sister in Christ.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I love you too. Thank you for joining this episode of Hope in the Mourning, transforming trials and tears into testimonies of hope.
Hope in the Mourning is a nonprofit ministry that seeks to encourage the hurting, equip those who walk beside them, and evangelize the lost with the hope of Jesus Christ. To partner with our ministry or to make a donation in your loved one's honor, please visit hopeinthemorning.org. Your donation helps keep these stories of hope on the air and helps tangibly meet the needs of the hurting.